just on time. Tomorrow we will release our top 10, our power rankings for the NFL, getting us ready for that Thursday night kickoff between the Texans and the Chiefs. It's going to be so fun to watch. I cannot wait for it. So here we go, the NFC South, and we are going to start with the Atlanta Falcons. Alrighty, they finished 7-9 last year. Won 3 games, their last 3 games, and that's really critical to watch. That's really critical because, or they won their last 4 games, and this is why it's critical. Dan Quinn fired a lot of their coaches, the defensive side and the special coordinators. They got rid of a lot of coaches kind of towards the middle of the season, and so after they kind of implemented those changes at the coaching positions, then they start to win. Now that is a very good sign heading into 2020. Dan Quinn, defensive-minded coach, going to try and take care of that defense. We'll get into their additions in just a second, but I do want to talk about Matt Ryan. 66% completion last year, very good. 4,400 yards, very good. But the touchdown-to-interception ratio is where it falls apart a little bit. 26 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, not great. But everything else is very good. Matt Ryan still a very good starter in this league, above-average quarterback, not top 5. You could put him in maybe top 10. You could make the argument, but the yards are there. The completion percentage is there. The weapons are there. So let's get in the weapons. Who did they lose? They lost Devontae Freeman. That's not a big loss for them. Kind of injured almost every season. 14 games last season. He rushed for only 600 yards. Not great. They lose Austin Hooper. That's an emerging tight end. So a good safety net for Matt Ryan is out. They lose Vic Beasley on the defensive end, and they also lose Desmond Trufant. So those are 2 key defenders that they are losing. They don't add a lot in the offseason. They do add Todd Gurley, 1-year deal, so we'll see how it plays out. Todd Gurley, took the league by storm when he first joined the Rams, but then we kind of learned that he has arthritis in the knees, and when you're running back, that's kind of very bad. Having arthritis in your knees as a running back is not good, but Atlanta is going to give him a chance here to kind of prove something on a 1-year deal. I think this is a perfect fit for Todd Gurley. Good compliment in the running game. Atlanta has never really had a strong run game while Matt Ryan was there, so hopefully Todd Gurley can kind of get back to his true self here. And they also bring in Dante Fowler, good edge rusher for this defense, but not going to be able to make up for Desmond Trufant and Vic Beasley leaving. But Dante Fowler, a decent addition to this defensive squad. In the draft, the Falcons went heavy on defense. All their picks, I believe, were defense except for 1. I think they had about 5 or 6 picks. So 5 defenders being drafted. Their first-round pick, they get A.J. Terrell, cornerback from Clemson. He is going to have to really kind of start immediately. He had, I believe, 1 interception last year. So not terrible, but on that good Clemson team, first-round pick, he is going to need to kind of be plugged in and playing. And as always, their offense is kind of stacked. Look at their weapons. At receiver, they have Julio Jones. He puts up a ton of yards. He had 1,300 yards last season. The one knock on him is that they don't find him when it matters. He only had 6 touchdowns last season. For one of the best receivers in the game, only having 6 touchdowns, that's not very good. He kind of struggled early on. I don't think he even got his first touchdown until like week 6 or 7 in the leagues or in the season. So they do have to kind of get him going early. Find him in the red zone a little bit more. He's going to have an easy advantage over any cornerback he plays against. So Matt Ryan, just try and, one-on-one, just give it to him. Give him a chance to make a play in the end zone. That's the one knock on that Matt Ryan, Julio Jones combination, is that they don't find him in the red zone too often. But as their number 2 receiver, they have Calvin Ridley. He has 17 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. That's very good. He had 800 yards receiving last season, and that's a great compliment to Julio Jones, who put up 1,300 yards last season. So Calvin Ridley, a great number 2. They've got the weapons at receiver. They've got the weapon at running back, Todd Gurley. Hopefully he can go back to peak shape. That's kind of why they went heavy on the defensive end in the draft. So Atlanta, they've got the talent. They just have to kind of put it all together. So let's see how favorable their schedule is, and we can mark some wins here and see how well they are going to do in this kind of tough division. We still have the Bucs and Saints to talk about. All right, so they have to open up in Seattle or against Seattle at home. It's going to be tough. This is really going to be tough. I do want to believe in the Falcons, but the Seattle defense is very good, and it's Russell Wilson. I don't know if we can bet against him just yet. This is going to be close, but I think I'll give it to the Seahawks. I don't think this Atlanta team beats Seattle. Then they have to go into Dallas. That's another tough matchup. Back-to-back tough opening schedule for them. I'm not going to give them the win against the Cowboys. I'll give them a win against the Bears, and I'll give them a win at Green Bay. I don't know how great this Green Bay team. Yes, they went 13-3 last season, but just kind of an easy schedule last season. Their defense really isn't anything special. Aaron Rodgers, he's always good, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons as well. So I will give them a win against the Packers. This Panthers team, we are talking about them next. They'll probably split against the Panthers, so I'll give them the win at home. Give them a win there. Then they have to go and face Minnesota. They probably lose that game. We give them a win against Detroit. As I said, they split against the Panthers, so can't give them a win there. They're at home against the Broncos heading into the bye, so I'll give them a win there. They have to face the Saints twice. Do they split? I'll say they split against the Saints, but I won't give them the win, obviously, at home or in New Orleans. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Saints. They split against them. I think they're better than this Chargers team. So we'll see what's going on with them at the quarterback position. I don't think they can beat this. I don't think they split against the Bucs. So tough 3-game stretch there to end the season. The Bucs, Chiefs, and then Bucs again. This Bucs team is so great on offense. I don't know. Even if Atlanta's defense is good, they're not going to be able to keep up with the scoring by the Bucs. So 8-8. Oh man. They just got a tough schedule, so we'll officially mark it 8-8. It's better than what they did last season at 7-9, but still not good enough to win the division or make the playoffs. Really tough schedule. I mean, they have to face the Saints twice. They have to face the Bucs twice. They have to face the Chiefs. They have to face the Bears, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Packers. Did I say Bears? I didn't mean to say Bears. I did not mean to say Bears. Packers, Dallas, and Seattle, all very good teams. And then you do have to face the Panthers twice, who we will get into next. It will be the next team we talk about. Don't want to spoil too much, but I'm not sure how Matt Rule is going to fare as a coach. We all know that Teddy Bridgewater is very good, and they still have Christian McCaffrey. So maybe they split against the Panthers. It's going to be tough. I mean, this is a real tough division to be in, and then to add these outside division games, Seattle, Dallas, Green Bay, Minnesota. It's going to be really tough. So 8-8, this is a tough year for them, tough schedule, but this is do or die for really Dan Quinn. This is going to be, if he doesn't make the playoffs, he's probably fired. If he doesn't have at least 10 wins, he's probably fired. So it's going to be really tough for him to try and win some of these games because they are talented on offense, but the defense is kind of lacking a little bit. Hopefully Dan Quinn, he is a defensive-minded head coach, so hopefully he can kind of work with some of these rookies and some other pieces on the defense to try and get everybody buying in and winning some of these tough games that they do have to face. So unfortunately, the schedule is going to get the better of this Falcons team. 8-8. It's not great. It's mediocre, obviously. That's why it's 8-8. That you're winning one, you're losing one. You're winning one, you're losing one. Not great overall, but a tough schedule is going to hurt the Falcons here and possibly get Dan Quinn fired, which is going to be unfortunate. All right, here we go. Let's move on to the Carolina Panthers are up next on the docket. All right. A lot of things going on in the offseason with them. They get rid of Cam Newton, obviously. They bring in Teddy Bridgewater, who in 5 games in New Orleans last year started 5 games while Drew Brees went out. He won all 5 of those games. 68% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. When you multiply that by 3 to try and get you to that 16 games of a full season, I mean, we're looking at almost 4,000 yards, almost 30 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. So that 5-game dress rehearsal, that 5-game audition was huge for Teddy Bridgewater coming off of that injury, kind of rehabbing with the Saints. I'm sure he learned a ton of great information from Drew Brees and Sean Payton, so he's going to have a great year here in Carolina, no doubt. The only question mark is they bring in a new head coach. They get rid of Ron Rivera. Don't think that was the best decision, but you're having a culture change. You're getting rid of the quarterback. You kind of have to get rid of the coach as well. They bring in Matt Rule. All right, now you're probably wondering, who is Matt Rule? Well, he's a good coach, and I can give him that. I can respect that because he takes over the Temple team, and what does he do? First year they were 2-10, but then second year 6-6, and then that third year 10-4, and then that fourth year 10-3. So he's bringing bad teams in college up to good levels. 10 wins in college is very good. That's where you want to be to try and get bowl games. But in bowl games, he doesn't perform well as a head coach. He's made 4 bowl games. He's only won 1, and that is truly concerning to me. That is a huge red flag because in college, you get about a month to prepare for bowl games. Since from the time of the last game of the regular season in college to the time of the bowl game, that's about 3 to 4 weeks. So you have all this time to prepare, try to find out what's going to work against this team that you're facing. You have so much time to prepare, so much film to watch, and you kind of come up short every time. That is very concerning to me. We've seen great coaches that kind of flounder in the Super Bowl. Sean McVay. Hey, I mean, everybody was making him out to be the coach guru, the next Bill Belichick, kind of in a league of his own. But what did he do in the Super Bowl? Didn't put up a lot of points, and they ended up losing. Dan Quinn, we just talked about him. He gets up into a big lead in the Super Bowl. Yes, you can kind of blame it on the offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, but still, Dan Quinn still needs to get his team prepared for a Super Bowl. He couldn't get it done. They lose it in the fourth quarter with a big lead. You all know the memes. You've seen them. And then there was one more I want to talk about. Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator for Atlanta. He goes to he blows that lead in the fourth quarter for the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and then he gets a head coaching job for the 49ers, and what does he do again? Blows a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. So, yes, you can coach very good in the regular season, but when it culminates to the Super Bowl and you don't win it, I mean, it's very disappointing. So Matt Rule could be that next quarterback to coach well in the regular season, but flounder in the Super Bowl when, everything really matters. So this is a little concerning to kind of keep your eye on. He goes to Baylor. He brings them from 1-11 to 7-6 and 11-3. Nobody's doubting that he's taking programs from the gutter all the way to bowl game appearances, but just in bowl games, he doesn't show up, and that is the red flag that we have to kind of talk about and be a little concerned with as he coaches this Carolina Panthers team. So we will keep an eye on Matt Rule. That's why I've been kind of up and down on him. I'm not really sure how I feel about him. Losing bowl games is not good. Not good. All right. So let's talk about their talent now. Obviously, they lose Cam Newton. They lose Chris Hogan, who's a decent wide receiver for them. It's going to be a loss of a weapon for Teddy Bridgewater. They lose Greg Olsen. Would have been a safety blanket tight end for Bridgewater. They lose 3 offensive linemen. They lose Dontari Poe on the defensive line. They lose Luke Kuechly, who retired because he doesn't want to put up with the punishment. I mean, a great, probably top 10 defensive players in the league, very young. He retires. They lose Bruce Irving once again on the defensive end. They lose 2 cornerbacks and 2 safeties, so a lot of pieces leaving, especially on the defensive end of the ball. But they do add Eli Apple at cornerback. He's not a great cornerback. I do believe in him. I think he's productive. I think he should be starting in this league. So a decent pickup there. They obviously bring in Teddy Bridgewater. They bring in Russell Okung to try and fill up one of those spots on the offensive line. And then they bring in Robbie Anderson, good receiver, should be a decent weapon for Teddy Bridgewater. They still have DJ Moore at the receiver position. He put up 1,100 yards last season when they were trying out Kyle Allen and all that. So only 5 wins, and he does put up 1,100 yards. That's still pretty good. And then obviously they have possibly the best running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey, dual threat, great running, and then he can catch it out of the backfield. He had 1,400 yards rushing last season with 15 touchdowns. Truly fantastic. In the draft, kind of like the Falcons, they went all in on the defense. All of their picks were defense. So they're trying to shore up all those pieces, all those good pieces, those veteran pieces that left that defense in the offseason. They draft defensive line and an edge rusher in the first 2 rounds. Which you kind of already had, so I would have liked to see them beef up the back, corners and safeties and linebackers a little bit, but that's what they did. So no big names on this defensive squad. They are really going to have to try and coach up some of these rookies and these pieces that they have. The offensive side, they've got the weapons. They do. No great number 1 receiver, but you have Christian McCaffrey. You have Teddy Bridgewater, who is going to make all these pieces work because he is a good quarterback. So let's get into their schedule now and see if they can post up a little bit more wins than the Falcons. Alrighty. They have to open up against the Raiders. I think they're a better team than the Raiders. The one knock you would have to say is that, this is an entirely new team kind of coming together, new quarterback, new coach, new culture being established. But overall, the pieces, I think, are better than the Raiders, so I will give them a win. But if they do lose this game, it is because they're trying to get everything, in place. When you're coming from an entire culture change from one year to the next, that's what you kind of expect. It takes a little bit for everything to come together, especially with no preseason games. But I do think the Panthers do have better talent than the Raiders. It's just, is it all going to come together by week 1? I will say yes. I will bet on yes. I don't know if they split against this Bucs team. We will get to them. They're so talented offensively. It's kind of wild that this is allowed to happen. Then they have to face the Chargers early on in the season. Rocky with Tyrod Taylor still most likely. They have to go into LA. That's going to be a tough game for them. Road trip early on is not going to fare for, this kind of rookie head coach. Chargers aren't too bad. They kind of have everything in place. I think they lose this game. I'm going to count this as a loss for the Panthers, so 1 win so far. Then they have the Cardinals. They're at home for that game, so I'll give them a win against the Cardinals. Still kind of iffy on Kyler Murray. I think he is going to be very good. Just how good is he going to be in their second season? So I'll give them a win against the Cardinals. I think they are going to split against the Falcons, so I'll give them a loss when they have to visit Atlanta. They beat the Bears. I don't think they split against the Saints, so we'll give them a loss there. We'll give them a win against the Falcons. Thursday Night Football, that is going to kind of hurt both teams. No teams really perform well on Thursday Night Football, but they are at home, so we give them a slight edge. They're not beating the Chiefs. They're not splitting against the Bucs. They can beat the Lions. Once again, a team has to go into Minnesota. That's going to be tough for them. I don't think they win it. Oh, a late bye. Wow, that is a very late bye. Oof. Not good. You, especially with this team that's kind of putting pieces together. You want an early bye. You want a week 5 bye, but they do not get that. Oh my God. Late bye. Coming off the bye, we can give them the win against Denver. They probably don't beat the Packers. They can beat the Redskins, and as I say, they don't split against the Saints. So 7-9 for the Panthers. If you want to find an 8th game, an 8th win, it would probably have to be a split against the Saints. Or no, the Chargers. That could be your 8th win there. Yeah, that could be your 8th win, but not a it's just a tough schedule because of the division they're in. I mean, you have to face the Bucs twice. You have to face the Saints twice. Atlanta's a decent team, and you still have to face them twice. And then to add on the Chiefs and the Packers. And, yeah, so overall, some winnable games. Obviously, Detroit. You could win against Minnesota. I mean, they don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. That's a huge weapon for them. But Vegas, Chargers, Cardinals, Bears, Lions, these are teams that they are going to need to win if they want to even have a chance at winning the division or competing in the division. And those are all winnable games. So, taking a step up from 5-11 to 7-9, not terrible. Just the division you're in and the time you're in, it's tough. They are going to have to endure Drew Brees and Tom Brady for about 2, maybe 3 years, but then after that, Carolina could be the front runner in this division. We'll see how everything shakes out. We'll see how Matt Rule is going to be doing coaching. Against some of these better teams, we'll see how he's able to kind of get his team ready for it. But 7-9 for the Panthers, not terrible. You're upgrading wins. Obviously, that's what you want to see, getting better every single year. But tough division, and they just don't have the defensive talent to try and stop some of these better teams. Alrighty, now we get into kind of the meat and potatoes here. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. I wanted this tab up, not Drew Brees. All right, here we go. The Saints, they went 13-3 last year, and that wasn't even good enough for a first-round bye. They had to go into the wild card, and they lost against the Vikings. When have we seen that before? The Minneapolis Miracle, where Stephon Diggs catches the late game, the last pass as time expires, and they win it. What was that, 3 years ago? And then 2 years ago, they had the no pass interference call, and then last year they lose against the Vikings. So not good by the Saints, just getting kind of getting destroyed in the playoffs, having great regular seasons. Drew Brees, he only played in 11 games. Teddy Bridgewater took over for 5. So in 11 games, Drew Brees went 8-3. 74% completion percentage, absolutely wild. 3,000 yards, which is obviously light for him, but he only played 11 games. 27 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's what separates the good quarterbacks from the elite quarterbacks. That high touchdown to interception ratio, and Drew Brees is a master at it. So obviously they have Drew Brees. He hasn't looking like he's losing any steps here, losing any strength in the arm. So he still should be good to go. They still have Sean Payton, one of the best coaches in the league. They just need to kind of get over that playoff losses, I guess. I mean, they're winning most of these playoff games, and then obviously, Stephon Diggs catches a game-winning touchdown as time expires, as I said. The no-call pass interference, which they still had a chance to win in overtime in that game. They didn't, and then they lose to the Vikings by 6. All right, so who do they lose in the offseason? Well, obviously they lose their backup Teddy Bridgewater because we just talked about him being in Carolina, but they do bring in Jameis Winston, and I think Jameis Winston is going to have a lot to learn from Drew Brees. I did a video on it, that infamous Jameis Winston "Let's eat a W" speech. It literally cracks me up every time. If you haven't seen it, I mean, just search in "Eat a W" Jameis Winston on YouTube, and you will be laughing for the rest of the day. I can guarantee it. So he does have a lot to learn from the leadership perception of Drew Brees. He's a good quarterback. I mean, 30 touchdowns, but 30 interceptions. I mean, the 30 for 30 season. So he does need to cut down on the interceptions, but the arm is there. 30 touchdowns. You can't sneeze at that, right? So Jameis Winston coming in as the backup, and they still have Taysom Hill, kind of that wild card. So they're good at quarterback. They're good at coach. They do lose Ted Ginn Jr., who I am a big fan of. Good, speedy wide receiver. Getting up there in age, though. So a decent loss as a weapon. They lose Eli Apple. We talked about him going to Carolina. So he was from New Orleans last season. Good cornerback. I'm kind of a fan of Eli Apple. And then they also lose Von Bell at the safety position. So not too many losses overall by the Saints team, kind of trying to run it back. They bring in Malcolm Jenkins, great defender. They bring in Emmanuel Sanders. That's going to be a fantastic weapon. And then they also have DJ Swearinger at the safety position. So this defense is still pretty good. The offense, they have weapons all over the field. Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders now. This offense is very loaded. That's why we can't see Carolina and Atlanta really kind of keeping up pace, because the weapons on this Saints team and the Bucs team, which we will talk about next, are just really off the charts, charts through the roof, kind of crazy. And then on the defensive end for the Saints, they still have Cam Jordan, Janoris Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore. We said that they bring in Malcolm Jenkins and DJ Swearinger. So the defense is getting even better. The offense is still very great. Alvin Kamara is going to, there's been talks today that he is going to get paid. He's back at training camp or at the team practicing. So he is going to be a Saint this season. I know there was a little bit, maybe like a day that he did hold out, but there was just miscommunication there. But no worries, Saints fans. Alvin Kamara is going to be good to go this season. So they're just trying to run it back. They just need to get over that playoff hump, and we'll see how favorable their schedule is. So let's look at that right now. Alrighty, here we go. They open up against Tampa Bay. Damn. First game against the Bucs. They are at home for it. I think they split against the Bucs, so we will give them a win there. They beat the Raiders. They probably beat the Packers. They beat the Lions. They beat the Chargers. Coming off the bye, they're going to beat the Panthers twice. They're going to beat the Bears. They split against the Bucs. We'll give them a loss there. They probably lose against the 49ers. That is going to be a tough team for them. I think they beat the Falcons twice, so we'll give them one there. They beat the Broncos. They beat the Falcons again. They beat the Eagles. They probably don't beat the Chiefs. They're at home against Minnesota, so that's good. We can give them a win there. And then they beat the Panthers. So we're looking at like 13-3 once again. This team, they're better than basically everybody they face except the Chiefs, the Bucs, and the 49ers. We see how Tom Brady fits it all coming into week one. That's why I kind of give the Saints a little bit of an advantage there. They're at home, kind of returning. All their pieces are returning, whereas Tampa Bay, you had kind of a complete rebuild overhaul on the offensive side of the ball. But overall, their schedule is not bad. Obviously, 49ers and Chiefs, yes, those are tough games. But Broncos, Bears, Falcons twice, Eagles, Raiders, Chargers, Lions. Some good, easy wins there. And, it's Drew Brees. Come on. We're not talking about his political stance here. We all know the quote that he said about the flag that kind of threw everybody off. But he walked it back a little bit, and I expect him to have a great season. This is a fantastic team. They have weapons everywhere. Michael Thomas, possibly you can make the argument for best receiver in the league. He had 1,700 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. 1,700 yards. Absolutely monstrous. Absolutely monstrous. And they had Jared Cook still at the tight end position. They've got weapons everywhere on offense. Their defense got even better. So this is going to be a good team. 13-3. I think we can 13-3 or 14-2, depending on how that Tampa Bay Bucs series kind of shakes out. I expect it to be 1-1. Both teams winning their home games, especially when they have to face Tampa Bay. Where's the second time? Oh, yeah, second time later in the season in Tampa, when everything's kind of figured out for Tom Brady and his crew. But a lot of primetime games. Look at this. Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football again, Sunday Night Football again. So a lot of primetime games. They've got this Friday game where they'll have football on all day, December 25th. So a lot of primetime games for the Saints, and they kind of deserve it. They're one of the better teams in the league. Alrighty, so we got to finish off with the Tampa Bay Bucs, the last team in the NFC South. What did they do last year, 7-9? Well, we can't even really go off of last year because they get rid of Jameis Winston. They bring in Tom Brady. That is a major overhaul. Bruce Arians, still the head coach, good coach. He was able to kind of coach Jameis Winston to mediocre seasons after throwing 30 interceptions. So, he's a good coach there. And, Tom Brady, we'll talk about him first. 61% completion percentage, kind of the lowest of his career last year. 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, so still about 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's throwing for above 400 yards. Just the completion percentage is just a little low, but he has weapons to compensate for that. So this is all we need to know about the Bucs. This is it. This one picture, this one tweet, that gives you everything you need to know. You've got Mike Evans, tall, fast, one of the best receivers in the league. He was kind of trying to make it work with Jameis Winston throwing the ball. So now that he has, the GOAT throwing to him, he's going to go wild. They have Chris Godwin, opposite side of Mike Evans, great number 2 receiver. They bring in Rob Gronkowski, best tight end in the league. Hopefully his back holds up. They bring in Leonard Fournette, and then they have LaShawn McCoy and Ronald Jones as number 2 and 3 running back. They are stacked offensively, folks. If Jameis Winston is going to lead them at 7-9 with just Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, what is Tom Brady going to lead them with all those weapons, plus Leonard Fournette, plus Rob Gronkowski? Come on, folks. Let's not be wild here. Tom Brady still has at least one good year left in the tank, right? So on their defense, I mean, they're good up front on the defensive line. They got Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. Shaquille Barrett at the linebacker position, but they went heavy kind of on the defensive end as well in the draft. First round pick, they do bring in an offensive tackle to kind of secure Brady a little bit, and then in the second round they get a safety, kind of shore up that defense just a little bit more because it is kind of lacking. The offense is very good. The up front defensive line is very good, just kind of from linebackers on, which you obviously need, is kind of lacking just slightly. But Bruce Arians, good coach. I expect him to kind of shore everything up defensively. And if they don't, they're not afraid to go and score 40 points a game with this offense, right? So if you can't stop them defensively, you could definitely outscore them offensively. Leonard Fournette, 1,100 yards last year. He only did have 3 touchdowns, but they weren't using him in the red zone because it's Jacksonville, and they obviously don't use their key pieces, right? That's why they are dysfunctional. Doug Monroe is not a good head coach, not utilizing talent. Mike Evans, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, and that's with Jameis Winston. So, this is a huge upgrade with Tom Brady, man. You've got to love it. And they have Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator. He couldn't really cut it as a head coach, as we all saw with the Jets. But, defensive coordinator, definitely where he fits. And we'll see how he's able to kind of coach up this kind of lackluster defensive squad. But, if you go 7-9 with Jameis Winston, you obviously have to be better than that with bringing in Tom Brady, right? Right? All right, so let's just get right into it. Now. Their schedule, they probably split against the Saints. As I said, the Saints win the home opener. They probably don't. But they beat the Panthers, and they'll beat them twice. They'll beat the Broncos. They'll beat the Chargers. They'll beat the Bears. I think they'll beat the Green Bay Packers. I just don't like that defense of Green Bay. I don't think they have any real good pieces, and I think kind of their perception is a little inflated with that 13-3 record that they did last season. So I think they beat the Packers, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Giants, they beat the Saints the second time around. They beat the Panthers twice, the Rams team. Going to be a little interesting there, but I think they win it. They are at home against the Chiefs, but it's the Chiefs, so we have to give them a loss there. Once again, at home for the Vikings, we can give them a win there. They beat the Falcons, they beat them twice, and then they beat the Lions. So once again, like a 13-3 record. Did I count it? I think I counted. I didn't count all their wins. So you have them losing against the Saints. We have them losing against the Chiefs. Is that it? Are they going 14-2? Yeah, I think they might go 14-2, man. 14-2, I think. Yep. We'll mark it 14-2 for this Bucs squad. When you've got Tom Brady and you've got that great supporting offensive cast, and then you're throwing in games like the Raiders and the Giants and the Bears and the Broncos. Oh, boy, they're going to eat. They only have to face the Chiefs. They have to face the Saints twice. This Vikings game could kind of give them a little bit of trouble. I'm not really sure how I feel about the Rams just quite yet. But looking like 14-2. You can make the argument for 13-3, obviously, or even 12-4. But, still making the playoffs, contending in the division. But we'll have it marked at 14-2. Just the offense is just... It's incredible, obviously. Kind of matching up with the Saints a little bit. The Saints just have a tougher schedule with non-conference opponents, having to face the 49ers and the Chiefs. So, Yeah, we'll have Bucs winning the division at 14-2, Saints claiming a wild card at 13-3, and Panthers and Falcons really just kind of mediocre, 8-8. Panthers falling to 7-9, and the Falcons going to 8-8. So, just you obviously know that the Saints and Bucs are going to show up, and everybody else is just going to have to deal with it for the next 3 seasons. We'll see how it all shakes out. Alrighty, so let's end the show on our moneymaker today. What did we do yesterday? Well, we hit baby. Celtics -1. They win comfortably right from the tip. Basically, since the first quarter, since the Raptors could only put up 11 in that first quarter. So Celtics win by 1, and they could have been -10, and we still would have won. They could have been even -20, and we still would have won. And then we took the Nuggets +9. They ended up losing by 6, but hey, when you're taking them +9, you don't give a fuck if they lose by 6, right? Nuggets really got out to a hot start, kind of kept the lead, good shooting all around. So we ended up hitting yesterday. So let's see what's on tap today. We have the Bucs Heat Game 5. Is Giannis playing? I'm not sure. I don't know if there's been any decision yet. Let me go to my old reliable source here. They're putting Colin Kaepernick in a Madden 21. Kind of wild. All right, let's see if we can find any news on Giannis. Go to our favorite Twitter account, NBA Fantasy Labs. They do great work. Usually, kind of the first ones that I see reporting everything. I don't know if there's any news on Serge Ibaka, not Serge Ibaka, Giannis just quite yet. Let's see. Projected lineup. He is questionable still. I don't think it's going to make any difference. I don't really think it's going to make any difference. Still questionable. So we'll see. They were able to win without him. So if he is playing, it would kind of hurt them, right? So this series has been Heat +5 until the Heat won 3 straight, and then they decided to flip it a little bit and go to Heat -2 or -1, however, whenever you bought into it. I expect it to be the same here, maybe even Heat -3 or 4 with Giannis being out, but I still think we take it. I think the Heat can close out. They're the better team, man. Chris Middleton isn't going to be able to kind of duplicate his performance from last game. And no, that's no disrespect to him, but he hasn't really shown consistency in the playoffs. So I'm going to bet on this Heat team. The only reason why they lost is because they went on that about 5-minute scoreless stretch in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, we're not even talking about game number 4. So with or without Giannis, I'm still comfortable on taking the Heat. If it is -3, I think it may even go up to -3. We will check the official line in a second, but Heat, we will take them. Doesn't even matter what the spread is. They're the better team. Unless it's like something wild like 7 or 10, and then maybe we go on the Bucs. But Heat win this game kind of comfortably. All right, now the Lakers and Rockets. What do we do about this one? Rockets opened up at +6. They won game 1. Then they kind of fell down to +5.5 in game 2. We took them +5.5 and it kind of bit us in the ass a little bit. They ended up losing by 8 or 9. Lakers kind of figured out how to do it. I mean, we saw what they did in series number 1 when they faced the Blazers. They lose game 1, win 4 straight. Here they go in this series against the Rockets. Lose first game, win the next one. They're the better team, I think. Rockets scored 22 3-pointers and still lose the game. That's a bad sign if you're the Rockets, right? You're hitting the 3 ball, which you live and die by, and you still lose the game. That's not great. Lakers shooters aren't great overall, but they have LeBron and Anthony Davis. So I expect this line to kind of stay at Rockets +5, but I still got to rock with the Kings. So we'll go to Lakers -5, -6 if it is still that. So without further ado, let's see what we've got here officially. There it is, the Heat -4. So they probably don't expect Giannis to play too much here. I don't expect Chris Middleton to have a good performance again. I expect the Heat to kind of play tough because they knew they shouldn't have lost the game. When you watch these post-game interviews, the interviews from yesterday after practice, they're all like, yeah, we played like garbage in the fourth quarter. We shouldn't have. We were undisciplined. So they are going to kind of come out with a vengeance here, and -4 I think is fine to take for the Heat, whether Giannis does or does not play. Heat wrap up this series here tonight. All right, then we go to the Rockets and Lakers, and it's -5, and kind of what we said. I'm still comfortable with the Lakers -5 just because kind of everything went right for the Rockets last game except for Russell Westbrook playing out of control. And he hasn't shown us that he can play under control in the playoffs, so we are going to still take the Lakers. It's LeBron, and it's Anthony Davis. We kind of have to rock with that and kind of live and die by that. So we are going to do this. We are going to take the Heat -4 and the Rockets -5. That is going to be our official moneymaker for today. We hit yesterday. We're going to go back-to-back. So bet this and bet it big, y'all. Make yourself some money. Let your money work for you. So go put, grand on the game and have some fun, right? Alrighty, well, that is going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. We are going to unveil our power rankings now that we're all refreshed with all 32 teams in the NFL. We are confident in ranking these teams now, and so we'll unveil that tomorrow. We'll talk about the NBA games. We'll talk about the NBA Week 1 a little bit more tomorrow and get us all ready for Thursday night kickoff. I cannot wait. We're getting basketball and we're getting football, playoff basketball, start of the NFL season, both on the same day. It's truly, you couldn't ask for anything better as a sports fan. That's kind of the one silver lining coming out of this entire Corona situation is that we're getting sports on top of sports. So gotta love it. Lots to talk about. So catch it all here at Takes by Fans Live, twitch.tv/TakesByFans. Takes by Fans Live Monday through Friday, and come follow me on Twitter. Be a part of the conversation at Takes by Fans, and please send me a DM of why you think your NFL team is going to make the playoffs. I want to hear from you. Sell me on why your team is going to be making the playoffs. We are going to play them live on Thursday, so send those in. I would greatly appreciate it. Alrighty, so